Mr. Popper's Penguins by Floris and Richard Atwater. Chapter 2. The Boys in the Air. That evening, when the little Poppers had been put to bed, Mr. and Mrs. Popper settled down for a long, quiet evening. The neat living room in 432 Proudfoot Avenue was much like the other living rooms in Stillwater, except that there was walls were hanging with pictures from National Geographic magazine. Mrs. Popper picked up his mending, while Mr. Popper collected his pipe, his book, and his glove. From time to time, Mrs. Popper sighed a little as she thought about the long winter ahead. Would there really be enough beans to last? She wondered. Mr. Popper was not worried. However, as he put on his spectacles, he was quite pleased at the prospect of a whole winter of reading travel books, with no work to interrupt him. He set his little glove beside him and began to read. "What are you reading?" asked Mrs. Popper. "I'm reading a book called Antarctic Adventures. It is very interesting. It tells about different people who have gone to South Pole and what they have found there." "Don't you ever get tired of reading the book about South Pole?" "No, I don't. Of course, I would much rather go there than read about it. But reading is the next best thing." "I think it must be very boring down there," said Mrs. Popper. "It sounds really dull and cold, with all that ice and snow." "Oh no," answered Mr. Popper. "You wouldn't think it was dull if you had gone with me to see the movies on the Drake expeditions on Bozo last year." "Well, I didn't. And I don't think any of us will have any money for movies now," answered Mrs. Popper, a little sharply. She was not a disagreeable woman, but she sometimes got rather cross when she was worried about money. If you had gone, my love," went on Mr. Popper, you would have seen how beautiful the Arctic is. But I think the nicest part of all is the penguins. No wonder all the men on the expedition had such good time playing with them. They are the funnest bird in the world. They don't fly like other birds. They walk like a little man. When they get tired of walking, they just lie down on their stomachs and slide. It would be very nice to have one for pet." "Pets," said Mrs. Popper. "First it's Bill wanting a dog, and then Jane begging for a kitten, and now you and penguins. But I won't have any pests around. They make too much dirt in the house, and I have enough work now trying to keep this place tidy, to say nothing of what it costs to feed a pet. Anyway, we have a bowl of goldfish. Penguins are very intelligent, continues Mr. Popper. Listen to this, Mama. It says here that when they want to catch some shrimps, they all crowd over to the edge of the ice bank. Only they don't just jump in because the sea leopard might be waiting to eat the penguins. So they crowded and pushed until they managed to shove one penguin off to see if it's safe. I mean, if he doesn't get eaten up, the rest of them knows it's safe for them to all jump in. Dear me, said Mrs. Popper in a shocked tone. They sound like a really pretty healthy birds. It's queer thing, said Mr. Popper, that all the polar bears live in the North Pole and all the penguins at South Pole. I should think that penguins would like the North Pole too, if only they knew how to get there. At 10 o'clock, Mr. Popper yawned and lay down her mending. Mrs. Popper yawned and lay down her mending. Well, you can go on reading about those Hatton birds, but I'm going to bed. Tomorrow is Thursday, September 13th, and I have to go to the first meeting of the Ladies' Aid and Ministry Society. September 13th, said Mr. Popper in an excited tone. You don't mean tonight is Wednesday, September 29th? Why, yes, I suppose it is. But what of it? What of it? Mr. Popper put down his book of Antarctica adventures and moved hastily to the radio. What of it? He repeated, pushing the switch. Why, this is time for night break. Arctic expedition going to start broadcasting. That's nothing, said Mrs. Popper. Just a lot of men at the bottom of the world saying, Hello, Mama. Hello, Papa. Shh, commanded Mr. Popper, laying his ear close to the radio. There was a buzz, and suddenly from the South Pole, a faint voice floated out in front of Mr. Popper's living room. This is Drake speaking. Hello, Mama. Hello, Papa. Hello, Popper. Gracious goodness, exclaimed Mrs. Popper. Did he say Papa or Popper? Hello, Mr. Popper. Up there in Silkwater. Thanks for your nice letter about the pictures of the last expedition. What for an answer? But not by letter. Mr. Popper, watching for a surprise. Signing off. You wrote to Admiral Drake? Yes, I did, Mr. Popper amended. I wrote and told him how funny I thought penguins were. Well, I never, said Mrs. Popper, very much impressed. Mr. Popper picked up his little globe and found the Antarctic. And to think, he spoke to me all the way from there, and he even mentioned my name, Mama. What do you suppose he means by a surprise? I haven't any idea, answered Mrs. Popper. But I'm going to bed. I don't want to be late for the ladies' aid and ministry society meeting tomorrow.